All right. Well, once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Lake Superior Interfaith Community Church. At this point, I'm going to read a little invocation for us. All right. Thank you, Mother, Father, God, for bringing us all together. As we come together, we open our hearts in gratitude for the space, for opportunity for friendship, and our connection to Spirit. And with this, we say thank you. And at this point, I'd like to have Jean come up and read our statement of intent.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Statement of intent. We are fortunate to have a variety of speakers for Sunday services. By using guest speakers, we gain wisdom from all those who share. This is a church where you can worship the God of your own understanding, a place to experience joy and to be uplifted, a place where we can gain strength and inspiration to share with all we meet throughout the week. We invite you to join us in this celebration of life, to nourish your spirit and to enjoy the company of kindred souls.
Thanks, Jean. So at this time, we're going to have our first hymn, so come on up, let's breathe from our bellies and sing, Let There Be Peace on Earth. The words are on the white card. Thanks, Carol. She's doing her best. She's all right. So now we're going to have some announcements here. My name is Sue Brewer. I'm the president for the next 2 years of the Lake Superior Interfaith Community Church Board of Trustees. So if you have any questions, comments, ideas, or thoughts, or if you would like to speak at our church at any time, come and let me know, or let one of the other board members know. Carol and Jean are both on the board, so you can let anybody know. And if you don't know anybody, just tell somebody and they'll get it to somebody on the board. All right. Our speaker today is John Schneider. John has been a regular here. He was on the board at one point, a long time ago. That was when Jim and I were co-president. And so he's been around for a while, and he has always brought us some wonderful, wonderful, deep and enticing insight to life in general. So we're looking forward to having him speak for us today. And he said he wanted as much time as possible. So we're not going to sing any extra hymns today, just to warn you. All right, other announcements, keep it in mind, Thanksgiving's coming up. Thanksgiving, we had a potluck dinner on Thanksgiving Day, right, last year, and it was a big success. So if you are interested in that, it's time to start noodling in your head about how we're going to go about it, what you're going to bring, if you want to come, if you want to share, whatever. So keep that thought going. Also, in our announcements on our email each week, we have keep in mind also for an upcoming event in February. This year we had Love and Lasagna. And this next year we may not do lasagna, but we will definitely have a Valentine's themed dinner fundraiser. So please keep that in mind also. Another thing, we got a note from the jail, St. Louis County Jail, which, not everyone wants to be a visitor there, But we do have a noble cause that we can attribute to them, or to contribute to them. It says we will be collecting cookies on Monday, December 16th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the jail between Airport Road and Costco, if you don't know where it is. We will be rearranging them so that everyone gets a wide variety. For those with allergies, please no nuts, peanut butter, or coconut any of the cookies. And we have a phone number in case you have questions. So maybe we'd like to think about the possibility of getting a few people together in the kitchen, making some cookies for the inmates. I know several other churches that already do this, and if we have an opportunity to volunteer for something, this is a really good cause. Anybody else have any other announcements at all? Okay, well then let's move on. All right, so at this time we're going to read our principles. Can I have that white card back, please? Thank you. All right. Our principles on the white card. We start with the we believe. God is the eternal source and creator of all and is present in everything. Our eternal soul, endowed with free will, grows through many lifetimes. Communication occurs between the physical and spiritual worlds. Prayer and meditation strengthen our connection to the divine. All healing comes from Source. Seeking this for ourselves and compassion for others suffering is the highest priority. Because we are all one, what we do unto others, we do unto ourselves. The choice of love is always open for every soul. Living these principles leads us to grow in divine love. All right. And at this time, Al, you're thinking about those. Let's think about people who are less fortunate than we are and need our prayers. The healing bowl here, we have it on display 24/7, and any kind of intention or prayer you'd like to put in that bowl, whether physically or intentionally, they will be heard. Those prayers will be heard. So at this time, does anybody have any prayers that they want for people? Looks like Jerry has a concern. Come on up, Jerry.
Prayers, huh?
Yeah.
And so, as we've gathered together today, I want you to feel your heart. Feel your heart. And there is your spirit too. And as you feel it, understand that we are all together in a oneness of spirit. The spirit of creation, of light and love and peace and joy. And together we will be with each other now and feel that feeling as deeply as you can. We are in a oneness of spirit. Spirit also of the universe of spirit that is out there when we leave here. But we come together again in light, compassion, love, peace, and joy. Enjoy this moment now, always and forever. Amen, amen, amen.
Thank you, Jerry. What that brought to mind was a couple of things I read on Facebook about now is that time to remember our oneness with each other and to keep each other on a higher plane so that we can rise above whatever trials and tribulations come at us. I'm not talking about anything in particular, but you know what I'm talking about. All right. Also, I would like to have some prayers for Carol in her continuing work on healing from her broken arm. And so she's doing very well. We will applaud her every time when she plays because it's like She couldn't do it for a few weeks, and we missed her. So continue prayers for Carol and her healing. I know there are a whole host of people who need our prayers. Let's, in our minds, think about those people as we sing in the silence, and then we will have a moment of silent prayer, and then John will be our speaker. Hymn number 74 in Wings of Song. Taking a nice deep breath. And let's give John a nice welcome. Welcome, John. Come on up.
Let's settle in for meditation time. All right. Relax into your chair. Feet flat on the floor, nice and open. Spine straight, nice and open. Take a couple deep breaths and relax deeper into your body. And just settle into this moment. Feeling nice and comfortable, relaxed. Put your attention in the very center of your head, right in the middle of your brain, right in the middle of your skull. Just put your attention right there. And see if you can sense the space that this area occupies. Sense the depth of the very center of your head. How deep does the blackness go in the center of your head? Now put your attention on the volume of space around your head, and just sense the space around your head. Now let's move our attention to the very center of our chest. See if you can feel the space in the very center of your chest. How deep is the infinite space in the center of your chest? Take a few deep breaths into the center of your chest and relax deeper into the space in the center of your chest. Now sense the space around your chest and see if you can sense the volume of space around your chest. And now sense the space around your entire body. And just feel the space that your entire body occupies in space. And now sense the space that this entire room occupies in space. Now, open your awareness up to sense the space that all of space occupies in space. And see if you can just sense the volume of space that all of space occupies. See if you can feel into the infinite space all around us. How far does the space go? How deep is the blackness? Just open up your awareness to the infinite space all around us. And when you're ready, you can come back to your body. Though sometimes I'd rather not. You guys. I'm so excited to talk about heart-brain coherence with you guys. I've been pumped on this for a little minute. And I've been finding it challenging to narrow down what I'd like to share, what I'd like to remind you all of, because I'm sure you know, because you guys know so much. Did you know that there are people in this world right now who are healing themselves of terminal diseases? They're getting up out of wheelchairs, they're healing blindness. When the doctor doesn't have any solutions for them, they find a solution inside themselves and they're able to come out of whatever their issue is. And it doesn't look like there's a limit to this level of healing. And it can be anything from health conditions to childhood trauma, to emotional stuff, to relationship stuff, or career stuff. It doesn't matter. There's something in what we'll get into here, talking about heart-brain coherence. There's something there that creates order in every other area of our lives. So I came across this testimonial of this lady named Folga. She seems like she's from Romania or something. She's probably like late 60s, early 70s. stage 4 cancer, tumors the size of eggs all over her body, head to toe, her brain, her organs, her legs. Outlook's not looking good. Stage 4, covered in tumors. I can't even imagine. She said she couldn't eat, she couldn't walk, just laid up. And she came across the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza. She read his books. She understood his concepts. The material made sense to her. She had a PhD in physics, and so she had an idea of like quantum stuff. She understood that there's a unified field of energy that connects everything, and the concepts in this material made sense to her, and the processes whereby we can create change in our brains and body made sense to her. And so she went all in on the work. She studied the material, and she started practicing the meditations and started applying what they call the formula to create changes in her body. And 3 months, she's doing these meditations every day. Dr. Joe has a meditation called the Blessing of the Energy Centers, where we're putting our attention on the different energy centers in our body, or chakras, and we're just loving them up. The process in that meditation is to kind of do what we did just now, connect to the larger field, and we'll talk about why that's important, but putting our attention on the infinite space around us and taking our attention off of our body and this environment and this time, and putting our attention on nothing. And in that meditation, we get to that place of nothing, and then we put our attention on the different energy centers in our body, and we just love them up. We get our attention on the first center, and we just shower it with love. Because one of the fundamental principles in this work is where you put your attention is where you put your energy. And so, we've all heard the energy flows where attention goes, or opposite that, where your attention goes is where your energy flows. Wherever you're focused is where your life force is going. And so if you're putting your attention on the energy centers in your body and you're loving them up, you're creating order in those places. And as I understand, if our chakras or our energy centers are functioning clearly, cleanly, optimally, then that order and clarity, optimalness, is reflected in our physical body, because all those energy centers are connected to different areas of our physical body, right? In our bodies and in our lives, so we're told. And I've certainly experienced that when I've been doing chakra meditations on the regular. I noticed that there's more order in my life. And so in this Blessing of the Energy Centers meditation, we're just loving these centers up so much to the point where we go through all 7, and then we focus on an 8th one above our head, and then we focus on the energy around our body. And in that, through that whole process, there is a sense of wholeness and a sense of connectivity with a loving field, with a divine force. And surrendering into that and relaxing into that space creates wholeness and order in our physical body. And by basking in that feeling for a little bit of time, we are creating physiological changes in our body. There are measurable effects that happen in the brain, and then happen in the blood, and then happen in our gene expression and in our organs. Everywhere in our body there is change when we're doing this process. There is something about the act of first putting your attention on nothing so that you're not locked into who you think you are and who you've been your whole life, but actually connecting with possibility, what's out there in the infinite blackness, but all possibilities. And if we're putting our attention on that, then we're getting in touch with the energy of infinite possibilities. And it's my firm conviction that in the infinite field, there is perfect order. And so by connecting to that field, we connect with perfect order. And the more that we can stay there, the more that we can harmonize with perfect order and give that perfect order an opportunity to express perfect order in our lives. So coming out of this meditation, we're feeling so full and so whole that we are creating physiological changes in our body. And the key is to be able to maintain that when life comes at us and tries to knock us off our center. That's where I mess up the most. I can get into these states of being in the morning, and I can create this harmony and this order in my body. And then I go through the day and something I don't like happens, or I'm reminded of something that bothers me, and I'm out of my center. And so the real work is to get ourselves back into that place when life is coming at us. And that can be the hardest part. So back to Folga. So for 3 months, Folga's doing this meditation, right? She's connecting with this wholeness within her. She's loving up her energy centers. And as far as I understand, I listened to her testimonial and her tell her story, and it sounded like it was purely motivated by, I like the feeling of doing this meditation. She just enjoyed getting into that energy. And 3 months of this, she goes in for her PET scan, 50% of her cancer is gone. In 3 months of meditation, dude, all she was doing was connecting with the energy centers in her body. She fell in love with this meditation. She was doing it every day. She never missed a day, 4 a.m. Stage 4 cancer. She's laid up in bed. She can barely walk. She can barely eat, but she made time to do this because the feeling she got from this was more important than any issue she had going on. And she believed in the philosophy, you know, the idea that our feelings have something to do with our lives, that the field is the sole governing agency of the particle, that energy creates matter, and if I can affect the field, then I can affect the particle. If I can change the field, then I can change the matter. The energy around my body, flowing through my body, is making up my body. And if I can change that energy, then I can change my body. The philosophy makes sense. The processes whereby we can do this, whereby we can change our energy and thus affect changes in our body, are understandable. We can wrap our minds around how we could do this process. It made sense to Folga. She went all in. She didn't miss a day. She heard that our brains and bodies are most receptive at 4 a.m., so she got up at 4 a.m. No matter how she felt, it didn't matter. She didn't want to do it, she got up anyway. And 3 months later, half her cancer's gone. 6 months later, 6 months into this daily meditation, 70 to 80% of her tumors are gone. A few months after that, she goes to a retreat, and she's got like a little bit of cancer in her body, but it's almost all gone. And she knows she's out of the woods, right? She knows, like, she's gone from stage 4, deathbed, covered in tumors, to almost none, moving in the right direction. What's so amazing about this is that in this type of work, in this meditation process, this Dr. Joe stuff, that's not an uncommon story. There's all kinds of people healing from all kinds of stuff. Like I said, getting out of wheelchairs, blind people seeing again. It's so crazy. Yeah, this lady, 40 years old, given 2 months to live. And she's still here. And she's rocking. No cancer in her body either. Dude, right? What? We have access to that right now, all the time. What's the difference between them and us? They got up at 4 in the morning and they did the work every day. Dude, that's hard. I tried that a lot. I can go a few months, and then something happens and I get distracted, and I'm back in my program. I'm back in my business as usual, being frustrated with what is. Why can't I change? Why can't it change? Oh, dude, I'm addicted to those chemicals in my body of feeling negative emotion, distraction, unworthiness. Changing the chemical addiction of our emotions. So key in all of this. For Folga, she just stayed focused on the healing. She just stayed focused on staying in that energy of wholeness. She connected with it every day, and then she did her best to stay in it all day. She didn't let her diagnosis, or maybe for the beginning part of of her experience with that, there wasn't any changes happening. She didn't let that discourage her. She understood the philosophy, she believed in the science, and she kept going anyways. So she was empowered with information, and she was willing to experiment, and she was willing to try. She was willing to go all in on the process regardless of outside circumstances. And so it didn't matter what was happening in her life, she did it anyway. So that's inspiring. Folga. The challenge in that process is when life comes at us. And so I'm just learning about how our bodies are addicted to emotions. And this concept is so crazy. We learned about it a bit in What the Bleep. You guys remember that one? And they taught us, Candace Pert, right? She taught us about the molecules of emotion. And as I understand it, and please tell me where I'm wrong about this, but when we think a thought, our brain produces a chemical corresponding to that thought. And so we have a thought of fear, or something triggers us in our environment that inspires that emotion of fear, and the brain produces that chemical that goes into our bloodstream and goes into receptor sites on our cells. And our cells, the more that we feel a feeling, the more receptor sites our cells make for that feeling. So far, so good? Say that one again. The more that I feel a feeling consistently, those thoughts are firing in my brain. My brain is producing chemicals corresponding to those thoughts. Dude, every emotion, right? And there's a whole pharmacy of chemicals that the brain's producing. And so, yeah, every emotion on the spectrum. The key thing is, and what kind of like gets me all buzzed up about it, is the fact that our cells are creating more receptor sites for the more feelings that we're feeling, the more thoughts we're thinking, the more chemicals we're producing, the more feeling chemicals that we're producing, the more that they're going into our bloodstream, the more that, the doc always says, our cells modify their receptor sites for us. We get used to thinking thoughts of resentment, anger, fear, frustration, and so our brain's producing those chemicals and they're going into our bloodstream, and our cells, the more we feel them, the more our cells are pulling those in and making more receptor sites for those feelings. I think I have that accurately. I'm not sure. I'm kind of a moron, but I read books and I study stuff and I try to figure it out. And from my current level of ignorance, this is my understanding of how this is going, so take it with a grain. At any rate, so if our cells are creating more receptor sites for these things, they're getting more, I'll want to use the word addicted. We have to think more thoughts that create more chemicals that go to those cells to fill those receptor sites. Otherwise, if the receptor sites on the cell aren't getting filled, the cell sends a message to the brain saying, make more of that thing. Hey, you did a meditation today. You're feeling pretty good. But I'm used to feeling frustration right about now. And as the doc would say, I modified my receptor sites for you. I'm accustomed to an hour of complaining with somebody, and you're not doing that right now. And I'm missing those chemicals. And we anthropomorphize it, you know, putting voices on our cells and stuff, and that's cool and all, but it really is just biology, right? It's just chemicals. It's black and white, ones and zeros, or at least that's one way of thinking of it. And the more we think feelings consistently, the more our cells are getting addicted to these feelings. It's as simple as that. And so the hard part is breaking the habit of feeling those feelings all the time. And especially when our bodies are addicted to them. I watch my patterns. I watch my emotional patterns, and I watch the states of being that I find myself in consistently, especially the one I wake up in. You know, I tend to wake up in dissatisfaction and frustration and stuff, and I have to do a bunch of things to snap myself out of that. And then I do, and then I feel all blissful and stoked out again and go bomb hills and feel the best feeling ever. I digress. And it's up to us, if we want to change ourselves and our receptor sites, to practice different feelings, to practice different states of being. And good luck, dude, to practice it long enough to have ourselves become addicted to new emotions. And so that's what this work's all about. And that's what I'm so excited to share with you and everybody on planet Earth, is that not only do we have a choice in how we want to respond to the moment, but in making a new choice, we will change our physiology. And in changing our physiology, we have the potential to change our future. For Folga, dude, she cured herself of stage 4 cancer by changing her energy and thus changing her physiology. And so, you know, therein is our invitation. Breaking the pattern of our thinking and feeling modes is sort of the day-by-day name of the game. Can I respond differently in the moment, regardless of what's happening? If I know that the feelings that I'm feeling are creating chemicals that are going into my bloodstream that are creating a state of being that is associated with survival, and if I know that there are states of being that correspond to like states in the body related to repair and wholeness and healing, then it's on me to think the thoughts and feel the feelings to create the chemicals and create the physiology that corresponds with wholeness and healing. And so that's my moment-to-moment work. Where is my attention? Where are my emotions? The thoughts of anything related to fear are degrading my body. They're breaking down my cells. They're breaking down my organs. My body's in a state of stress. My body's in a state of fight or flight. As subtle as it may be, if I'm in any level of fear, and we talk about a spectrum, but we often hear it say, like, there's either love or fear, and then everything is kind of an aspect of one of those two things. So anything on the fear side of stuff, and my body is not in growth and repair, it is in survival. And the body can't take long-term survival. It can't take long-term stress. That's how we end up with our physical issues. And if we want the healthiest body possible, then it's on us to cultivate a state of being in our body that is on the love side of the spectrum. And the thing I've found the most effective in that regard is the morning practice of connecting to wholeness. If I can connect, like we did in that meditation, we put our attention on infinite space. And as I said, like, if your attention is on infinite space, it's not on finite space. It's not on the limited me that can't do anything, that can't change my body, that can't change my life. It's on possibility. There are infinite possibilities in the infinite blackness that is the quantum field. And if I put my attention on that infinite space, where I put my attention is where I put my energy. So my energy is in infinite space and infinite possibilities. And it's my understanding that when we're putting our attention on those kinds of places where our energy is harmonizing with that energy, and the more that we can stay in that place of that infinite potential, the more that its energy becomes my energy. It changes my physiology. It changes my body. And I know that when I come out of those meditations, I feel whole, I feel great, and that alone is worth the price of admission. I would do that every day just to get that feeling. But the side effect of that feeling is a change in the cells and in my genes and in my organs. Like, my heart is beating more rhythmically. And when the heart beats more rhythmically, it creates more order in our bodies. When we're living in stress, our heart's beating out of order. It's pumping really fast, or the gas, brake. We're in this state of disorder. And if we can bring our heart into coherence, if we can relax in our heart and settle into that space and deepen into that presence and breathe into that space and open up our heart, the deeper we can relax into our heart, there's something that happens at some point, according to the research, the energy in our heart moves into our brain. And the more relaxed we are in our heart, the more that energy moves into our brain, and it starts to create a lot of really wonderful chemicals in our brain. And we hear all the time how important it is to live in the heart. And practicing that every morning and getting so familiar with the feeling of being in an open-hearted space to where when we're moving through our day in our waking life, should something knock us off of that center, we can remember what it felt like to be connected with that and immediately connect back into it. And that process of falling out of center and then bringing ourselves back into center, the more that we do that, the more that we become that wholeness. There's something about the process of noticing that we've slipped out and bringing ourselves back that creates the greatest change in ourselves. And so really becoming whole is about catching ourselves slipping out of that and then bringing ourselves back. So that's tight. Ask me something? No? That's okay. I probably have something here. Please. It's all good. You're good. Yeah. Nice. It's a lot. Yeah, he's got a bunch on his website. Yeah, they're all there. There's a few on YouTube, but I find the ones on YouTube are usually like a conglomeration of some of his stuff and some AI stuff and some third party, who knows. It's best to get them from the website. Yeah, there's so many good ones there. And the key thing about the work and the process, and it's true, the information is heavy. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in. I do my best to simplify these things. I kind of like read some stuff, write it down, repeat it back to myself in a way that are words that I can understand, then take these larger concepts and break them down into bite-sized pieces, and it's still a challenge. But it does seem like the fundamental is relaxed in the heart and awake in the brain. If we can practice in our meditations, relaxing into our heart, and I will say, like, key to that and prior to that, connecting to the infinite field of space all around us. There's something about the practice of convergent focus and divergent focus, like what we did in this meditation. We put our attention on the center of our head and the space around our head, the center in our heart and the space around our chest. We put our attention on the inside of our body and the space around our body, and then we put our attention on all of space. And there's something about putting your attention on all of space that brings the body and the brain into order. When we converge and diverge our focus, the right and left brain hemispheres start to sync together, and those brain waves start to become more coherent and less disorderly. And coherent heart, coherent brain. We're putting our attention on all of space. The brain is getting more orderly. Our breathing's getting more coherent and more orderly. We're putting our attention on our heart. We're relaxing in that space. We're deepening in that infinite space in the heart. How deep is our heart? How deep does that space go? Is it not the center of the love of God in our body? Feel into that. Feel into that infinite space that is the center of universal power flowing through us. And we're told we're unlimited beings. We're told we're made in the image of likeness of God. We're told we are the presence of God in a body. I don't feel like that very often. I usually feel pretty limited, and I usually feel pretty incapable. And yet there is this space within me that is unlimited and infinitely capable. And this is a process whereby we can get in touch with that. Relaxing the heart and awaken the brain, putting our attention on the infinite space around us, harmonizes our brain, harmonizes our body. We relax deeper into our heart. That energy builds in our heart. The more love we cultivate in there. When I'm in that heart space, the love from within my heart isn't very forthcoming. It's not like it just blooms out of me when I put my attention there. I have to kind of work for it. Because, I don't know, man, maybe my heart's all walled up. I don't know what kind of wounds are going on in there, but love is not very forthcoming, and that frustrates me. But I can love my heart. And it's weird to be two beings. It's weird to be like, the presence of God is animating my body. I don't have any control over that. It's just what's happening. My heart's beating and my brain's functioning and my lungs are breathing. There is something that loves me that is animating me right now. It would be sweet if that something just opened up my heart and poured love through it so that I could feel whole. But I guess that's the free will part. We're given the free will to open that up or pinch it off, presumably for the experience of being here and exploring three-dimensional reality and forgetting that we're the presence of God in a body so that we can remember and then find the way home. And it's all about the journey because God is, and God wants to experience what it's like to not be. And so it gives us the opportunity to find our way back to that wholeness, and therein is the joy of the process. So I have to labor for that love in my heart, and I do that by loving my heart, man. My heart is like, kind of, it's not my wounded child, but sort of, because my heart does feel like it's all walled up. And I am a loving person. I love people. I love my dog. I love stuff in life. The bird flies by, like I am full of love, and I can direct that loving attention and energy on the center of my heart and just thank it and love it. And there is an exchange that is happening in that process. When I'm loving my heart, my heart begins to expand, and I can feel it loving me back. And the more that I cultivate that energy, the larger that it grows, and the more that I feel genuinely filled with love. And I think there's something in that process of us loving that space within us that eventually it cracks open. And at some point, if we're in it long enough and we labor, I don't want to say hard enough, but I will say persistently enough. It's like just showing up every day like Folga did, man. We just show up every day no matter what, and we love ourselves and we love our heart, even if it doesn't love us back. When we know it does, whatever. I pinch myself off from the love that is flowing through me for I don't know why. I'm addicted to my suffering. I've been feeling the chemicals of dissatisfaction and frustration all my life. My cells are addicted to those things, and I keep going back there. It's so hard to change. But if I labor every day to feel new feelings and to cultivate this sense of love in my heart, my cells are going to change. Those receptor sites are going to die off, and new receptor sites are going to be created that are going to want to upregulate the chemicals of a loving sense of wholeness. And that's what I'm going for. And then will that not be reflected in my physiology as perfect health? And then hopefully in my outer environment as like wonderful affairs, whatever that looks like, Bombing hills and never slamming. I like slamming sometimes though, so maybe that wouldn't be good. We digress again. Relaxing the heart, awaken the brain, connecting to the infinite field. The act of connecting to the infinite field creates wholeness in our body, because when we put our attention on wholeness, we become wholeness. Where we put our attention is where we put our energy. If my attention is on an infinite space that is wholeness, what's in the blackness? Not nothing, everything. Everything is in there. Did you guys ever see I Heart Huckabees? In that movie, they're like at dinner or whatever, and the kids are trying to convince the family who, I don't know, they love their oil and stuff, and the kids are like, have you ever stood in the meadow at dusk? And the children of the family are like, what happens in the meadow at dusk? And the parents are like, nothing. And the other guys are like, everything, nothing, everything. Everything happens in the meadow at dusk. What happens in the infinite empty space? Dude, everything. That's where Folga got her healing. That's where Folga connected with a field of intelligence that knows only order and wholeness. Because, what is cancer but something that degrades us, right? And there can't be anything that degrades anything in wholeness. It's ever expanding. It's ever expanding, more wholeness. And we are made in the image and likeness of that wholeness. And If we want to experience that wholeness expressed in our lives, then we have to connect to it intentionally. It doesn't happen by default. I'm frustrated by that. I wish it happened by default. It's too hard. But Folga did it. Folga's whole now, dude. She healed her cancer. That's pretty rad. There's a lot of people who have had a lot of profound transformations. And I will say, just doing these meditations has saved my life multiple times. Just the experience of wholeness makes it worth sticking around for. Like, we have access to something that can create a profound change in our lives. But we have to pursue it. It's up to us to get there. You know, we have to make the time. Folga got up at 4. Didn't matter if she felt like it or not. And I've had cycles in my life where I've done that, where I wake up, and as I said, I wake up bummed. I wake up frustrated. I wake up dissatisfied. And I don't want to get up and do anything. And yet, when I do, when I don't allow the conversation to happen, it's 4 in the morning, Folga got up, I can too. I get up and I sit in my chair and I connect to wholeness. And if, dude, like 5 minutes into that process, I'm like, what was I thinking, dude? I'm gonna lay in bed and not experience wholeness? Excuse me, the presence of God is flowing through my body and I have access to it. There is a loving intelligence that's animating me that showed up for me today. It didn't stop breathing me. Apparently, it loves me and wants me to be here. The least I could do is sit with it and say hi and thank you and I love you. And I do that by loving myself, by loving my heart space. I love you. I know you don't pour love out to me naturally because I've mucked you up with all of my dissatisfaction and frustrations. And my life has walled you up because of whatever. Who cares? What label should I put on it? It's irrelevant. There is wholeness in there. Thank you for being here. I love you. And we could throw in the I'm sorry, please forgive me. And just run that every day. And the more we do that, the more we change our bodies. It's about persistently showing up and doing it all the time. It's about, it didn't work for 3 months. It didn't work for 6 months. It hasn't worked for a year, and we show up and do it anyway. Because we know that if we're persistent, eventually we'll break through to some level of wholeness within us that will manifest as wholeness in our lives. But we have to be persistent. And we have to show up even when we don't want to. And we have to study the material, and we have to understand why we do that. Why, when I put my attention on this and then this, what happens? And then the more that we understand why we do that, the more that we are inspired to do it. Because, oh, okay, I know that if I do this, I'll get that outcome. And we just keep doing it over and over. And one day there's a breakthrough. Yeah. What do you mean? I drove back some. Oh, my motorcycle? Word. And so what about grounding related to all that?
I think of that as a way that, as creator, you created an experience,
Mm-hmm.
and you might have had a choice to consciously ground, but that experience grounded you.
Okay.
And I'm just, will you take
Yeah,
3 minutes and say
totally.
what that experience was and say what you did once the impact took place?
Okay. I think when it comes to this work and stuff, grounding is the inevitable side effect of the process. And so to speak to your question about where does grounding come into all of that, I haven't ever heard anything about the act of grounding specifically. When I think of grounding, I think of meditations that we do where we open our feet and we kind of connect to the center of the earth. I think about standing on the planet with our bare feet and connecting to the center of the earth. And that the feeling of that imagery of like really deeply connecting. And I don't hear anything about that in this work. And though it does look like the people who have success with whatever outcome they're going for, they seem pretty grounded. And so my sense of it is that it's a natural side effect of the process. For me, at that period of time, I was riding my motorcycle from here to Superior. I crossed the bridge. I'm coming up on that quick trip that's right there on the Hammond. I'm going probably 35. I am in the left of the 2 lanes that are going into Superior. And as you know, there's like a center lane and then 2 more lanes, and someone's in the center lane going to turn into the quick trip. And I'm looking at them in their eyes on my motorcycle because that's what I do. Do you see me? Yes, you do. Okay, cool. I'm going to keep going. And this person looked right at me and turned right into me, and kind of like gassed it, and hit me on my motorcycle, and I went flying into the grass. And I'm a skateboarder. I fall all the time. I like falling, and something in that getting hit and flying, like I hit the grass and rolled, and I was totally fine. I was all shook up, and like something was tweaked, but nothing was broken. I didn't hit my head on anything. Everything was fine. The lady was like, she was apologetic, but I don't know, she might have been kind of tweaking or something, bless her heart. I don't think she was in a very great place. And I'm like crawling around, and I think this is what you're talking about, I don't know, but I'm like, you looked right at me. Why did you do that? I forgive you. I love you. I'm sorry that this happened. But why did you turn right into me? I forgive you. I know. I'm sorry. Why did you do this? And I am feeling both of those things. Bro, you looked right at me and turned into me. I know it's scary for you. You hit somebody on their motorcycle. I'm sorry that that happened for you. And bro, you hit me on my motorcycle, dude. You sent me flying. And I get it. I know. You're all emotional too. I feel it. I'm sorry. And dog, you hit me on my motorcycle, dude. And I'm feeling both of those things. And I forgive this person. I understand, you know, we all have our stuff. I don't know that we're all doing our best to pay attention. I don't think we are. I know I'm not. I mean, paying attention. I'm not doing my best to be the best version of myself, I'll put it that way. Was that person doing her best to pay attention? What is her best in that moment? Was she doing that? Maybe. I don't know. But at any rate, I forgive her, you know? Instantly, I forgive you. I'm sorry this is happening to both of us. And dog, pay attention, bro. We looked right at each other. And so we're both at fault, and I own mine, and I am inviting her to own hers and letting her know, like, I don't know, man. Don't beat yourself up about it too much, and pay more attention and like check your behaviors. What are we getting at with that? Did we get there?
I did.
You just wanted an entertaining story.
No, John, you know, honest to God,
I love you.
I love you so much.
Thank you.
And you could have ceased to exist
It's a possibility.
in that moment. And not only were you, like, literally struck and strewn, but you stayed present. Then you didn't just stay present, you made yourself one with the ground, remained conscious, worked to release the trauma from your body as rapidly as you knew, and the means by which you did that in part was to forgive instantaneously the person who struck you. If that is the ordinary from your vantage point, because you skate, I probably need to take up skateboarding.
I completely agree.
The power in that is just immense. The reality that any of us could find ourselves whenever we feel offended or violated or traumatized or struck or harmed, that we would retain a level of consciousness
then be in a state of forgiveness and release. And the spans of time that your physicality healed from that level of impact was astonishing. And I take myself as witness to that reality, and I find it evidence of exactly what you're speaking. So that's what I would say.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that. I do feel like it is my duty to own my behavior and to forgive others for theirs. They know not what they do, whether they do or not. And I attribute it to this practice and this awareness and just knowing that we are the presence of God in a body and that we're all connected and that underneath are the everlasting arms and that there is wholeness present. And I choose to take time out of every day to connect to that wholeness. And in so doing, I guess it manifests as that kind of stuff. I don't know, because it really, to me, what do you mean? That's just what you do.
Right. In John words, it'd say, dog, I call that embodiment.
All right, word. And so it is, I guess. And there's an opportunity for loving and forgiveness for myself, right? I'm always hard on myself. And so thank you for sharing that, and I'll do my best to remember that kind of stuff. And we could all be practicing often in our wholeness.
And if I could add, I think if we hold each other, we would all believe that it's a connected, intentional universe.
Straight up,
Cosmos.
right?
So then we have to say, well, where's the win in the cosmos for this to happen? And it could have been initiation for you.
I'm open to that.
I got hit by a car once and I found out it was an initiation to see how I would handle it. And it sounds like you passed, man.
I'm into that. I do agree, like that's the other part of the perspective is everything is happening for a reason and my highest good. And so when I was selling weed years ago and like the cops bust into my house and I have 6 pounds and I'm screwed for sure, every thought in my head said somehow this is the best possible thing that could be happening to me. When I'm on the ground and they're in there with their guns, I'm like, somehow this is the best possible thing that could be happening to me. Thank you for the most benevolent outcome. Thank you for the most benevolent outcome. No charges, a $400 fine, 3 years probation that I served to. I never went to jail at all. They didn't even put handcuffs on me. They took me in, they questioned me, they brought me back home 20 minutes later. I stopped selling weed. I started doing other more constructive things with my life. And so it sent me on a new trajectory, but where was I living? Somehow this is the best possible thing that could be happening to me. I know that all roads lead home. We're all ending up back in the perfect divine order in the end. And so when I make bad choices and the outcome of those bad choices come to visit me, not only do I know it's my fault and I'm blaming no one, but I know it's for my highest good. And I surrender into that awareness. Go forth and practice. Thanks, you guys.
All right. Wow. Heavy duty, man. Anyway, so it is that time of our service where we are going to do our offering. You may notice in the pews in front of you, if you want to pay with some cash and you want it to go towards your membership, or even if you don't, I mean, you can put that in here. If you want it to go towards your membership, you can say yes. Go ahead and start collecting, you guys. It also, if you want to become a member, if you're not a member at this time but would like to become a member, you can put your name on here and some kind of way for us to contact you. Otherwise, you can always talk to a board member or any member of the church, and they will direct you to the right place. And that's what those envelopes are for. Music, maestro? Just a couple, just a little bit. Just a little bit, yeah. All right, Jerry. Oh, thank you, sir. We need your, oh, hello. We need your loading pass, hold on. you go.
And so as we gather together, open your mind, open your heart. Feel the energy that you are. And say yes. We are all together in the oneness of spirit. The spirit that we are, the spirit that we can change, the spirit that we can grow together. Not just here, but every day on earth. And also connect with the universe of spirit, because we get to go there when we leave here. And so with light and love and peace and joy, we open our hearts together in a oneness of the spirit of light, compassion, and love, together always and always and always. Amen, amen, amen.
Thank you, Jerry. All right, so at this time, well, let's get ready to sing our song. But before we sing our song, let us say our church affirmation. It's on the white card. We totally accept the belief that God is in charge of the affairs and direction of Lake Superior Interfaith Community Church. As our thoughts of trust and joyful anticipation join in harmony with the thoughts of all the members of this fellowship, we attract the right ministerial leadership and people to our spiritual community. And what are we? We are grateful. Yay! Let's get in a big circle and sing our final song. All right.
Floating out in space. Good stuff.
Anyone want to do a benediction? I forgot.
I can hand it to you.
All right. Quick benediction. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind always be at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. And may God put you in the palm of their hand. And also be a part of the big oneness that we are, right?
Indeed.
All right.
So it is.
All right. Let's go for it, Carol.